All righty. Good morning. And hey there, beautiful. How are you today?
If you're talking to me, I'm happy to be here. If you're
Of
talking to
course
everybody,
I am. Of course
I
I
hope
am.
you're happy to be here too.
I am. I love our Tuesday mornings. It's just such a great way to connect both with each other and with whatever audience we have this morning. It's a cold day in both of our cities. I think we're about 25 this morning, and I think you're what, about the same?
Right. Yeah, I have to admit, I first thing I do every morning is walk my dog, and I saw it was 19 degrees this morning, which is better
Oh.
than the 14 it was yesterday. But yeah, it's when you're in the teens, it's freaking cold.
Oh, I know. It's like, oh, crazy. We lived in, so Lynn is in Chicago. And in case y'all didn't know, this is Lynn Franklin, my great friend. We've been hanging together off, almost weekly for about the last 8, 9 years. So it's been so exciting. And she's so gracious to come on and share her wealth of knowledge and just her fun with us. We'll start our topic here in a minute, but let me ask you first, Lynn, did you have a nice holiday? I'm pretty
Huh.
sure you did.
Well, got to spend it with friends who didn't have family in town and was going to spend, so that was Thanksgiving. And frankly, I will go anywhere where somebody makes food for me, and my contribution is to clean up afterwards. So, happy to do
Oh,
that.
okay. So you're welcome to my house anytime. We don't mind doing the cooking, but I do kind of hate the cleanup.
Well, I was put in charge of dividing up all the extra food among the people who came, and
Oh,
and I lived off of turkey for the next 3 days.
okay, okay. Well, and that's
And how about
always
you?
a
How
great
was
thing.
your Thanksgiving?
We had a nice time. It was very low key, but really good. Both Justin and Alicia were here, and Alicia's little boy Henry, and then of course Bill and I. And so it was a small group of us. We didn't have the other two grandkids, but it was nice, and the food was good. And in my house, my dining room table, because of space, actually is a big drop leaf dining room table. And most of the time, 99% of the time, it stays folded down against the wall. But for Thanksgiving, I pulled it out. It's the first time we've used it since we moved here. So that's been 2 years. And it was nice. We sat at the, I just wanted to have what was traditional feel to me, to have the china out and that, and just really do it because I want to teach the grandkids how to actually sit at a table and use good china and stuff. So anyway,
Mhm.
so we really enjoyed that. And Alicia said, well, Mom, we don't really have to use the good dishes. And I said, but yeah, we really do. And I said, I know why you don't want to, because those have to be hand washed. So
Mhm.
anyway, but it was great. So thanks for asking. So, but I know that a lot of times, so we've just finished Thanksgiving. We're in Advent, which started on Sunday, and we're in Advent. And the first week of Advent, I thought I would just do our weeks based on that, but maybe from a different little twist than what we usually do, like at church on Sundays, but still keep the themes because the themes are so great each week. And this first week is hope, and ours is giving up. Nope, that's not my style. I choose hope. And I know, Lynn, you've been kind of through well, I know you've had a lot over these last several years of ups and downs, and there have been a few times when it would have been easy to give up, but I know that is not you. So you want to talk about that a little bit?
Hey, well, frankly, we all give up at some point. The choice becomes whether or not we stay there. Uh, and
True.
it's funny because I'm a neuroscience nerd, so let me start out with a little bit of neuroscience. There's a fellow by the name of Dr. Mark Goulston who mapped out the process of what happens when we lose our minds and how to get our brains back.
Ah,
And so, I figured I would share that for starters, because what ends up happening is there's something that triggers you. And what goes on in your brain, there's a part of your brain called the amygdala. And the amygdala's job is to keep you safe. And so what ends up happening is that if it feels for some reason you're not safe, or something, you're in a crisis, or something totally unexpected has happened, what the amygdala does in order to keep you safe is it shuts down two-thirds of your brain. It
Oh,
shuts down your emotional brain, which means you don't know how you feel, number one. And number two, you can't make decisions because we decide in our emotional brain. We think we decide in our thinking brain, which is the third brain, but we're full of crap. We decide in our emotional brain and then we, back and fill it. Well, this is why I made that decision. So it shuts down your emotional brain. You cannot decide. And it also shuts down your thinking brain, which means that you cannot plan, you cannot forecast, you cannot figure out the next steps. All you have left is your survival brain, and you have limited choices there. You have fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, where you're going, yes, I will do anything you tell me to do. And that's amygdala hijack. And fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, none of those are particularly active. They're all reactive or not doing anything. And so you can really stay stuck. And so and I'm sure that all of you have experienced this, and you may have experienced other people who are going through it too. And it's that deer in the headlights look where you cannot imagine. So Goulston says he calls it the OF to OK. And so because we're not going to say F, I'll just substitute crap. So the O crap to OK process. When you're just in amygdala hijack, you're in the oh crap phase, which is this is terrible. There's no way to fix this. I am so screwed. And so you have, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn there. That's it. And that's the giving up part. So how do we get out of the giving up part in our brain? And it's something simple. It's literally close your eyes if you're in a place where you can do that and you're safe, because you're being bombarded by so much visual stimulation that it's hard to focus. So literally close your eyes and then ask yourself, what am I feeling? Because that starts to wake up your emotional brain. There's a phrase called name it to tame it. Once I know what I'm feeling, then it gives me more power of choice. So that moves me out of the oh crap to the oh God phase. And unfortunately, it's not oh God in a prayerful way. It's oh God in the, this way. And, and it's the oh God, this is terrible. I'm going to get stuck fixing this. Why does this always happen to me? So now you're in your emotional, you're starting to wake up your emotional phase, but you're in the victimy bit. And so basically what you're doing here is you're closing your eyes closed, but you're calming yourself and breathing, because we a lot of times when we're upset we forget to breathe. And so you're breathing and you're basically asking yourself or saying to yourself, I can deal with this. I can deal with this. And this is when you start to reach out and ask for help. So you've got, oh crap, oh God. The next phase is called, oh geez. And you hit, oh geez, and it is I'm going to get stuck fixing this. And yeah, and you're not happy about it because it's a difficult situation. But now you can see the movement you've made from the oh crap phase, which is I'm so screwed, there's nothing I can do, to now you're in oh geez. You start to think how you can fix this. And then crap, oh God, oh geez, oh well. And this is, I call the righteous indignation phase, which is where you're saying, oh, well, I am not going to let this ruin my day, my week, my life, my relationship, my whatever. And you start getting energy from making that choice. And that takes you into the okay process, which is, okay, what can I do right now to deal with this? Now you've woken up your thinking brain. The last couple of steps have woken up your thinking brain. So now you have your entire brain there, willing to help you. Or if you're helping somebody else through that process, their brain is back. Because when you're in, oh crap, oh God, oh geez, you literally cannot decide what to do. You cannot take action. Your brain is not whole yet. So you can't move. And there are plenty of people who are trying to be helpful. If you reach out to them in these phases and they're saying, well, what you really need to do is this. Well, you can't decide because your emotional brain isn't there yet. Or you can't plan because your thinking brain isn't there yet. So I call that stuff the true but useless. Yes, somebody might have a very wonderful plan for what I need to do next when I'm in amygdala hijack, but I can't see it, let alone take action on it. So I need to get all of my brain back in order to do that. And Delinda was referencing something that happened to me where I needed to use this. And I was invited to be on a podcast that's internationally known. And I thought, this is my big chance, and there is the thing and there is the meaning I create from it. So the big thing was, hey, I could reach out to people internationally. Isn't this cool? And then there was the thing I made of it, which is, as Delinda alluded to, I've had some time, some difficulty for the last few years, and I thought I've not done any new business in all this year. And now it's God saying, okay, you don't have to do that stuff. We're going to bring it to you. And I thought, right, I am ready for it. And then I found out that they decided not to use the episode. And as Delinda knows, I have something that I call the sunflower head, which is, I'm all excited about it. And then it's this. So I was in amygdala hijack. I am so screwed. There's nothing I can do. They've made the decision. I can't change their mind. This is terrible. And so one of the things I know when I'm in, oh crap, is that I cannot stay there on my own. Or if I stay on my own, I stay there. So for me, it became reaching out and talking to people and hearing their perspective, as well as getting off my chest how awful this was. And I said, I feel like a failure. Like this was my big opportunity and I blew it because they put the session through their algorithm and I didn't make the minimum for them to want to share this. So I felt like a failure. And then I also felt the meaning that I'd made of this, God is sending me good stuff. And simply the good stuff wasn't there. So this was really a low for me. And how do I get out of it? I ask myself how I feel. Okay, I feel like a failure. At the same time, I know feelings aren't facts. Yeah, in this moment, I feel like a failure. But I did my best and it didn't suit their algorithms. There really is nothing I can do about this. So then the work became, how do I make the best out of this situation? And ultimately, for me, when I got to the, okay phase, and I was ready to take action, it was, I'm going to send an email asking them if they could tell me what I could have done better so I can learn from this experience. And sent that email and actually got some feedback in return. And then sent the follow-up saying, most people wouldn't bother to do this. I am really grateful to you. And I will use this not only in any future podcast I'm on, but also in speeches and workshops that I do. So am I still stinging from it? You bet. But at the same time, it's what can I do to get my brain back, which for me was to talk to friends and get their feedback, as Delinda knows, because she was one of the people I reached out to. And then keep working to what is it that I ultimately can do with this, which leads right into Delinda's whole thing about hope today.
Yeah, because you got your hope back.
Mhm.
And it's nice to know how our brains work. And I would say, based on all the things that you said, I'm always glad to hear it because I've heard it a couple times. I think it's in the book,
Mhm.
because I don't have I don't keep that in my brain a lot.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
at least I know, though, I can go look it up if I need to do that. But the thing is, it's like once you kind of have an idea that that's how our brains work, then it should be assuring to you to know you're not alone. You're not the only one that gets down in the dumps, and that, why can't I think? And I had a good part of last year. I wasn't hopeless. The same kind of thing happened, but it wasn't because I gave up, I was giving up or I didn't have hope as much as just that was when my mother was living here. I just couldn't do anything else. And therefore, my brain kind of all I did was take care of her. And I couldn't think, I couldn't do any of those things you said. I couldn't make decisions. It was hard to even pick out a word of the year. All of those things, my brain just kind of shut down. So rather than saying the whole word of amygdala or whatever, I'm going to say brain shut down. Give me
Yep.
my brain back, as you said in the beginning. But always knowing that the Lord is there. I am never without hope. We are never without hope. He is always there. Sometimes because these things affect us so much and we're human, it's easy to go there and say, yeah, it's okay to have a pity party, but we do have to get a time limit on these things, right? We can't stay there forever. And I think we all know people who have gone through hard times that are still living in that time. They're still living there 3 years later. And, it's so sad because they're miserable, but they're also making everybody else around them miserable. And if they would just look within their soul and in their heart and try to work through those phases, as you were saying, ask the question. That's a pretty easy thing, Nick, what am I feeling? Well, let's just identify it. I love that.
Mhm.
And then to know that assurance in go back when you can think, okay, when you get through your little pity party for a little while, just remember that the Lord is there. He's ready to fill you back up. He's ready to give you back the hope that's still there because he's not done with you yet. The point is we're all still alive. And so as long as we're alive, there is still hope and there is the Lord still has things for us to do, a future and a plan that He has. And I was looking up some stuff here, and I love this phrase: biblical hope is confidence, expectation, a knowing God that is who He says He is, even when life isn't what we thought it was going to be. He didn't change; He is still there in that expectation of knowing. And I think that's where our faith is so important to be so if we are consistently building our faith, then when we hit those times, because y'all, we're all going to hit them, whether it's a disappointment in your work situation, a disappointment in a relationship, it could be, or in a job, losing a job. I don't know, you might know this, Lynn, but the statistics of people who lose jobs and that kind of thing during the holidays is very high. I don't know why companies like, couldn't you just wait till January? But no, they want to get it off their books or whatever they're doing. I don't know how that works, but that happens so much. And that's when we have to, you can drop your head. I love that expression, the sunflower head. We can drop our head, but it's like, okay, that's what I say, breathe in, and like just breathe in and say, okay, Lord, I know you've got this. We're going to make it through. I feel really crummy right now, like, oh crap.
Mhm.
And we can take that walk with him because he is there. The Holy Spirit's within us. And, I mean, anybody who's read any part of the Bible, if you've read Psalms, David did that all the time. Just, Lord, they're after me. Like, what are you going to do? Have you turned your face from me? And he just put it all out there. He was so honest. And then, but he'd always bring it back. But I know you're there and I'm going to trust. And it is just going back to the trust and the hope that this isn't the end.
And that's a really powerful message for yourself, or if you're helping somebody else deal with it, because you're right. There are so many people who get stuck in the oh God victimy phase, and they can be there for a really long time. And I think, the thing that gets you in, yeah, off of the oh crap to into the oh God is asking how you feel. And part of it is feeling of hope is not something that generates itself quickly right there, because you're so stuck in, this is terrible. And yeah, it probably is. But to be able to have a friend or a relative or somebody else whom you value say, you know, it's not always going to be this way. Better things are coming. There is hope. Because I think that's the thing why people stay in the oh God phase, is that they don't have hope. And it's awfully hard to generate that when you're only dealing with a little over a third of your brain. So if you
Yeah,
wish to be, yeah, if you wish to be of service to somebody who's going through this process, or somebody perhaps who's stuck in the oh God phase, it is, you're going to be okay. We'll work on this together. I'm by your side. And and God is by your side as well. You are not alone. And
uh-huh.
we'll get through this and we'll create something better. Because that's the key, I think, to accelerating the rest of this process, is the ability to have hope. And if you can't generate it yourself, and chances are, if you're stuck in oh God, you can't, then ask for it. Then ask other people. And and nobody's going to care if you say, "Can you just tell me there's hope for me?" Or a lot of times I'll say, "Just tell me one thing that's good about me," because I can't see it in that moment. And if you're really wise, when you're in that, when you're stuck there, it becomes, tell yourself one good thing about you. You
Yeah.
can soothe yourself as well, because support is all around you. It helps when you bring it inside too.
Yeah, it really does. And okay, so you know me, I'm a tweaker. You know me. Okay. And anybody else knows my family, Bill will say, okay, are we still tweaking? you know, so in your analysis there, it's like, so every time you say that you're in the oh God, I'm going to make a twist on that, because when you're in oh God, let it be oh God. Oh God, I need help. Bring to my mind someone I can reach to. Bring me a friend, uh, bring me a scripture verse, oh God, I need you. So if I, rather than just like, because it still is, it's like, but let's make it real. That's how that I look at things. So that we know that that there are scriptures. I don't even know how many, there are so many. Well, let's see. Um, I couldn't remember in Pollyanna how many she said there were this many happy scriptures in the Bible, but there are 365 or more. Uh, don't be fearful, because a lot of the times when we're in that, it's because of fear. What's going to happen to me? My life, I'm at a standstill. I can't feed my family. And it's a fear is a big part of that. Would you agree?
Yes.
And if we can just know that, so in the oh God, as you're saying, I'm just going to take it up a level, is that oh God, I need help. And
Mhm.
whatever it takes, would you send me this help, Lord? Help me. And then look for those scriptures that give us hope, because there are, a lot of them. And look also, I think in that, and I don't know at which phase, based on what you were talking about, is begin to look for the little blessings, the little things that you do have in your life. Um, your doggy, I saw him, he moved back there a little bit. He's so cute. Y'all, he's a fun dog. He even liked me. He came up to me. Um, and
Which means he's a
sometimes just
smart dog
taking
too.
taking, if you have a dog or a pet, just that loving on your pet sometimes just it soothes that anxiety and that feeling inside us. They're just so wonderful, our best friends, right? And as Lynne was talking about several times there, about having friends to reach out to, know your sources. So when you're not in that mode, kind of think about it. And, maybe today is a good day, since we're talking about it here. Make a short list or even a long list for yourself, or who are those really important people that you could reach out to. What are your favorite scriptures? What are the scriptures that say how amazing you are, that you are fearfully and wonderfully made? Like Lynn said, maybe tell yourself some good things about yourself. Well, the Bible's full of beautiful, positive affirmations about how God created us, and go back to those. So be ready, so that when the sunflower head hits, you can get, to that first phase, and like, get to the, oh crap, this is terrible. When we went through our big financial crisis, y'all have heard me talk about that a number of times back in 2011. I mean, the floor was dropped right out of us. We lost, what, 85% of our business. And so how are we going to live and pay bills and all that on that? So it was a definitely, oh crap. It's like, what are we going to do? And it's like, okay, so I'm going to do nothing, because I really couldn't. My brain wouldn't think. I was totally in what do you call it? Brain
Medulla
block.
hijack.
Hijack. I love that. Brain hijack. And
Mhm.
so my sister was living with us at the time, and just as a brief little thing. So Bill, his what he does is he sleeps. When that happens, when we have crisis mode, he just shuts out everything, turns on ball games, goes to sleep in his chair, and that's what he does. I eat. I used to eat. I don't do that anymore once I'm changing my habits. I eat. I did eat, and so I ate popcorn and ice cream all weekend, and my sister and I watched movies all weekend. And Bill and I said, we'll talk about it on Monday. And of course, in the meantime, I am praying, like, okay, Lord, just give me an idea, give me a thought, because right now I can't even think. I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. We've got people we have to lay off and close businesses. I mean, it was kind of overpowering, but I knew I couldn't stay there long. And I think that's the thing is really, and particularly if you're out there and you're young, just know that this, you will make it to the end. It will be okay. We don't know what it looks like. God is there for you. But when you get to the end, this experience that you're in the middle of will get you through the next time, because there will be a next time. I mean, we hate to say it, but there will. And each time we go through these, we get stronger and we learn. And now I can get through those usually in a matter of hours. It just depends. It doesn't take me days or a whole weekend. And heaven forbid, it's like I will not allow myself to do a whole week. But I don't know. It depends. I haven't had one of, I don't know what will come, but I do know that always at the end of the tunnel, that's where the hope is. And that in God, that's where the hope is. But we have to live through the process, part of
Mhm.
it.
And a lot of times we get stuck because our brains are meaning making organs. We're always trying to figure out, why does something happen? And so it can be easy to get stuck in well, why did this happen to me? Which that's the oh God phase again. It's kind of, well, why me? Why is it always me? And and the other thing that we can get stuck in is the how. I don't know how I'm going to make it through
Ah,
this.
ah.
And those two things can keep us where we are, and and freeze us, so we're not making any progress throughout this process. And so know if you're stuck in a how, or know if you're stuck in a why. And I got stuck in the why this time with the whole pot. Well, why did God send this to me in the first place if he's going to snatch it away before anything good happens? I spent a little too much time there. But that was where I was, and I knew I couldn't get out of it on my own, so I asked for help. And help came. So be careful to know that how and why can be triggers for you.
Mhm, mhm. And the
And Delinda's point too was really great. Do this stuff in advance. Breakdowns will occur in our lives. And if you happen to be in the oh crap phase, you're not going to be able to generate ideas. You're not going to be able to move yourself forward without some help. But if you've already done the list of, hey, if things really go south, I'm going to call this person, or I'm going to read this scripture. If you don't have to think to find support, it's easier to get it. So plan on there being breakdowns. And if you need to write it down someplace and stick it someplace, or if you can remember it, fine. But know that when the bad stuff happens, I'm going to do this, or here's where I reach out for support. Because you're right, Delinda, doing this stuff alone is a really hard road. But support is all around us if we plan for it in advance and if we reach out.
I love that. What a great way to tie it all together. I appreciate that so much. And we're so glad to have y'all with us this morning. And maybe you're watching later. It might be later in the week or later in the day. I would love to know in the comments, if you have the one thing that you do when you get that sunflower head, when you hit something difficult, and you feel like you've just had the floor taken out from underneath you. What is the one thing that you do, or what's the one idea that you heard today that you're going to go to when that happens. Again, it's kind of nice to know ahead of time what you're going to do. And I think a lot of the time that that is just a great uh, thing to think about anytime when we think ahead about any topic. It really helps us. I mean, I feel like that's one of the reasons why we read the Bible on a consistent basis. We're reading every day and filling our minds and our hearts with what God says. Then, whenever we hit those bumps, we have something to draw from, that would fill ourselves up in those good times so we can draw from it, pull that out of the well, like you pull the water out of the well, that it will be there. So I hope this has encouraged you. I know that sometimes the holidays are wonderful, but a lot of times it's frustrating. Sometimes, we're not living in a Hallmark movie. Okay. So sometimes it would be, I'm getting down to where it's like, Alicia and I hadn't watched one in a long time, and we were watching TV the other night, and it started, and it wasn't even a Hallmark movie. Exactly. But she said, "Oh, Mom, here it is. Are you ready? He's going to do this and she's going to do that. And then they're going to fight. Then they're going to get together. And at the end, there's going to be a big kiss and everybody's happy." I mean, there's the breakdown to the Hallmark movie. And life just really isn't quite like that. And we know that. So we hit those hard times. Basically, know that there's hope. We serve the God of hope who was there always for us. And it is a choice. Y'all know how big I am on that word. It's a choice. Just choice how you fill yourself up. It's also a choice when you get there to just take some deep breaths and just let yourself settle a little bit and know that it is okay and you are going to be okay. The other day, Alicia said, "Mom, can you just tell me it's going to be okay?" And I said, "Yeah, it's going to be okay, Alicia." Sometimes we need somebody to tell us that, right? So
Mhm.
don't be
Yeah,
afraid.
yeah, because yeah, when you're not feeling okay, if somebody says to you, it's going to be okay, you're going to be all right. It is a wonderful life affirming phrase.
It really is. And it just does, it just helps. And so, whenever you get that chance to, and maybe that'll be something you can do during the holidays to somebody else, is that, you may not be in the middle of it, but somebody else probably is. And you can just say, it's going to be okay. And just sometimes they need a hug, sometimes they need a smile, sometimes they just need the words. So, anyway, I appreciate all of y'all being here. I love that you choose to spend your time with us. And remember that it is the holiday season. Next week, we're going to be talking about peace, even in the chaos. How do we have hope? But also, we're going to talk next week about having that peace in your soul, even though the world is in chaos all around you. So go out there, make it a great day. Remember, it is your choice. And we will see you next week. Thanks, Lynne, for being here.
Always a pleasure.
I love it. All right, guys. Goodbye now. See you next time.